Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras here with ILTV's Morning Brief.
The pressures on Iran are seemingly coming to a head in the Middle East as pro-Iranian forces, proxies, and affiliates continue to threaten Western nations while oppressing dissidents and demonstrators. On top of killing hundreds of citizens in protests in Iran, Lebanon, and Iraq, Iran is now also warning that its missile arsenals are aimed at 21 American and Gulf military bases across the region and can launch up to 20,000 missiles per day. Also, Iran is reiterating its ability to raze Tel Aviv and Haifa to the ground. But meanwhile, rather than stand up to the aggressions of Tehran, the UN and EU member states are appeasing the Ayatollah regime. On Saturday, 6 new countries, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, the Netherlands, Norway, and Sweden, announced that they'd be joining the Instex barter mechanism led by France, Germany, and the UK. Instex is a way to work around the United States' sanctions on trade with Iran by avoiding use of the dollar. And Israel is reacting harshly as Prime Minister Netanyahu says that Europe could not have picked a worse timing, adding that now is the time to ratchet up the pressures on Iran, not to lessen them. Similarly, human rights advocates like Israeli attorney Arsen Ostrovsky are pointing out how hypocritical the international community is for failing to respond, writing that Iran has massacred over 450, injured over 2,000, and detained at least 7,000 people since protests began. Yet the UNHCR has launched 0 emergency sessions, condemnations, or fact-finding missions. Well, Israel and the United States are responding. Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump discussed the threat from Iran as well as other critical issues in the region on Sunday. And later this week in London, Netanyahu is expected to plead with NATO members, including Germany, France, and the United States, to change course and join the fray more seriously. Seemingly, the Middle East is on fire, as this week alone, an estimated 100 more demonstrators were killed by Iranian guards. The New York Times reports that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps even opened fire on between 40 and 100 unarmed young men hiding in a marsh. They had been protesting when forces who were trying to crush the demonstrations opened fire without warning. And that's when protesters took cover in the marsh area, where one of the men reportedly fired off a gun at the soldiers. But within moments, troops fired back and it was all over. Dozens of men were killed, piled up onto the back of a truck, and taken away. As for the wounded, they were taken to a hospital where nurses said many had bullets to the head and chest, and one family said they had been given the body of their relative back 5 days later, but only after they had signed documents saying that they would not host funerals, services, or speak with the media. International rights groups accuse Iran of taking and hiding bodies to hide the numbers of dead, and social media reports even allege that family members have had to pay for the bullets that killed their loved ones. Reports from Iranian state media, however, say that a senior guards commander from one of the troops was killed in the clashes, and that the protests are just an attempted coup orchestrated by the West. Researchers from Ben-Gurion University of the Negev consistently wow the world with their achievements. And this year, BGU was even ranked 15th out of 50 in this year's Nature Index of Young Universities. But this latest discovery published by Professor Gonen Ashkenazi and his team may just take the cake, because they've managed to develop a system in which synthetic cells can mimic their biochemical counterparts. So how does it work, and what does it mean? Well, according to BGU's press release, Professor Ashkenazi's team from Ben-Gurion's Department of Chemistry explains that a regular live cell can maintain its life cycle and replicate naturally as long as there's a source of energy nearby, because the system recreates the equilibrium state of biochemical cells, allowing the synthetic cells to receive energy and expel waste properly. As for what it means, well, the implications are practically endless. First, the findings may offer a glimpse into the origins and evolution of early life, but they can also lead to the development of better medicines, as well as biodegradable zero-waste electronics that break down at the end of their lifespans.
That's all for now, but for more news from Israel, remember to like ILTV on Facebook and on Instagram, and to subscribe to us on YouTube. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.